everyone, welcome back to Miss Ming's channel. This is Miss Ming, and my channel I do vlog videos, lifestyle videos, food videos, and productivity videos. Today's video, I'm gonna share 10 productivity tips that I have being a PhD workaholic. Okay, so if this is the first time you're in my channel, let me first introduce myself. My name is Ming. I recently graduated my PhD program, so Dr. Ming. I'm definitely 99.9% workaholic. I realized that I was a workaholic when I was in elementary school. Actually, I was learning English. We read an article about workaholism, and I was like, oh my gosh, I checked 95% of these symptoms. And I honestly really enjoy being productive, but I also know that it's also very important to take care of our mental health and physical health. So over the years, I accumulated these productivity tips that I have. Being a workaholic, being highly productive, but at the same time taking care of myself and enjoy my life. So in today's video, I want to share 10 tips that I have, and I hope these tips can be helpful to you, whether if you're a student or you're working full-time or having multiple jobs. I hope these tips can be helpful to you. Right, tip number 1 is to write down everything. I know it sounds kind of odd, like how is write down everything helping me increasing productivity, right? But write down everything on a piece of paper or like on a Google Notes, like a Google Doc or Apple Notes. It's definitely really helpful in terms of helping me remember everything. I'm currently involved in 3 research projects. I have 3 YouTube channels. I have a full-time job. I have personal responsibilities. I also try to stream. So definitely there are a lot of things to do, and if I don't write things down, even though I believe that I have a great memory, sometimes I just allow things slip off my mind, and then the next day I become very stressed out because I forgot to do something the previous. Not everything is going to be helpful when you have a lot of things going on, like either you're studying, you're taking a lot of courses at the same time, or you're working, there's so many projects going on at the same time. So definitely write down everything, write down your thoughts, write down your ideas, write down things you want to do the next day and revisit them. Definitely is going to be very helpful. And also I take a lot of notes during meeting, because a lot of times in the meeting I noticed that people were just making comments, people are discussing, people are brainstorming. There are a lot of great ideas shared in the meeting, but sometimes those ideas and things do not generate an action plan or do not get implemented because later people just forgot what they talk about in the meeting, especially when you have like 3 back-to-back meetings. So that's why writing down everything, not everything, but writing down things that are important for a meeting is very beneficial, because every single meeting should generate an action plan, and the action plan should be generated from the meeting notes and from everybody's ideas and comments. Tip number 2 is to make a to-do list. Everybody talk about this. I felt like it's like I've shared this tip over and over again, but just write it down, write a sticky notes. It helps me to clear my mental space. Sometimes if I don't put it out there, I constantly think about the same thing over and over again. It stresses me out. When I'm stressed, I can't stay focused because I'm always absent-minded to think about the things I was stressed about. So definitely make a to-do list, not just so that you won't forget about it, but also it's a great way to clear my mental space. So definitely get some sort of to-do list, a planner, a sticky notes, and things like that. Have a habit of system is going to be very beneficial. Tip number 3, turn everything into an action plan. This is also something I observed throughout the years. A lot of times we have great conversations. A lot of time we have study groups, we have meetings, and sometimes we just have great ideas or great thoughts. We would think, well, it would be great if I could do something. It would be great if something happened and I could achieve something. But the thing is, if you want to be productive, you have to generate everything to be an action plan. When I attend a meeting, I try to generate an action plan of who is gonna do what. It's like a very clear action plan. If we brainstorm some ideas, I'm gonna generate an action plan about like what we think about each idea and which one we may actually select at the very end, because that will be the action to select the idea and implement it. So similarly, if I have an idea about doing a YouTube video, I will generate an action plan about, okay, so how am I gonna implement this YouTube idea? Like, what are the steps? What are the timelines? So every time you think of an action plan, you will think about whether something is pursuable or or not, whether it's a good idea or not, especially when it comes to meetings. I've seen people sitting down and talk in meetings for like 2 to 3 hours, and it's just the conversation just goes in circles because there's no common goal of generating an action. I am a go-getter. I like to act on things. I don't like to just think about things and wishing that something could be accomplished. I would try to generate an action plan and thinking whether it can be accomplished or not, whether it's realistic, whether it's a good idea. I think overall it really increased my productivity. If something is not doable, even if it's a good idea, it's okay just to put it on hold. So I think time well spent is very important. We want to spend less time to accomplish more, not the other way around. Tip number 4 is to always ask for clarifications to avoid double work and rework. So this is something that I observed throughout the years, starting from when I was like a high school student and then college students, graduate school students, even now. I felt like a lot of times in the meetings or when we're giving a task, we don't really ask for clarifications, even though sometimes the guidelines and instructions are not very clear. So here's the thing, if you felt shy about asking for clarifications, or if you felt like, oh, I don't want the boss to think that I wasn't paying attention, the problem is later after your work, then you may actually did it wrong, and then you'll have to rework, and then it would just become a vicious cycle. So always ask for clarifications, either from your coworker, either from your boss, either from your professor. It's always good to clear before we proceed, instead of like we proceed, we do a lot of stuff, and later we realize, oh, it's not needed, or we did it wrong. So always clarify before you take actions to save any unnecessary double work and rework. And also a lot of times if we're in a meeting, people are brainstorming, it's kind of confusing to everyone, like whether we are doing things or we're not doing things, because we're just brainstorming. So it's very important to generate the action plan and clarify with your supervisor, clarify with your team to make sure that everybody is doing their job, but not double working each other's job and not really doing things the wrong way and later have to rework it. It can be very frustrating. It can be very time consuming, and honestly, it's just not very efficient. All right, tip number 5. Tip number 5 is to stay highly focused within a short block of time. You can always finish the same amount of work within shorter amount of time. So I've actually noticed something, like if I give me long time to do something, I will use that long length of time I give myself to finish the task. But similarly, if I give myself shorter length of time, I can still finish the task. So why would I drag the whole thing to longer and longer and longer? So one example could be my doctoral dissertation. I gave myself 6 months to do analysis and to write out the dissertation paper. And honestly, the first 4 months, I did nothing. Like, I don't know, like I was just slacking. I was just having too much fun traveling around, going to conferences. It's definitely a great experience, but I was just like slacking. I opened a document, I was like, I was long time. But then one time I was like, okay, I'm just gonna give myself 1 month to write up my dissertation. And it turned out that it took me 20 days to write up my dissertation. So here's the thing, if I give myself 6 months, I can use up the 6 months. But if I give myself 20 days, and those 20 days I was highly focused, and this is the only thing I work on, my brain was so clear. And 20 days later, it's done. And of course, later I went back to it, I revised it. I was still far from the deadline. Well, not far, but I was like 1 month before the deadline, but I finished it. So here's the thing, like you can always drag your work for a long period of time, or you can just stay highly focused and finish it as soon as possible and later take a break from it and then go back and revise it. So that was like one big hard lesson that I learned. And also there were other examples that I noticed that I can always finish the same job within a shorter period of time if I am highly focused. So here's the thing, we all have different attention span, but normally if you want to stay highly focused, usually it's hard to be highly focused for like 24 hours or something. It's always easier to be highly focused for 30 to 50 minutes and then you take a break and to be highly focused again. So everybody has a different habit, but I generally advise you to give yourself a shorter deadline. Just to clarify, I'm not trying to say to kill yourself to meet a unreasonable deadline of yourself, but just try to push yourself a little bit harder at the time to see how much faster you can finish the job. And it's always nicer when you're highly focused, you make less errors, you do things faster, and then you can just have fun. Try to figure out when is the best time for you to finish the work, whether it's morning, whether it's at night, and stay highly focused and just give yourself a timeline, give yourself a deadline, and you can always finish the same job within shorter period of time. And then you will have more time to do other things. You have more time to spend with your family, work on your YouTube channel, and things like that. Sometimes the 8 to 5, 9 to 5 work culture, it's kind of misleading in the sense that even if you finish your job, you're still gonna be at your work and you're still gonna be sitting in front of a computer. I've heard a lot of friends share their experience with me, but again, it's always nicer when you know things are done versus if you stress about something to see maybe I won't finish today, maybe I will finish today. Definitely it's better in terms of my mental health as well. Like when it's done, it's off my mind, I don't have a lot of stress. So definitely try it out. Tip number 6, time block every minute of your day, but try to block your time a little bit longer than you thought the task would need. This is what I learned from my experience. Like I used to be, well, there was a time that I was almost late for every single meeting or every single thing that I promised myself to do because I thought the previous task will take 30 minutes, but it turned out to take 40 minutes. And then the next thing will be pushed back. And then the next thing will be pushed back. And then I tend to work longer and longer and longer and longer hours until I became very, very tired. So here's the thing. There are always gonna be things that are unexpected. So definitely if you know it takes about 30 minutes to travel from one site to another, block yourself 40 minutes. If you know that it's gonna take you this much time to meet with this person, try to block 10 minutes just in case you didn't finish the conversation. So definitely it prevents me from being late to the next meeting because I have to finish the conversation, but then the next meeting is going to start soon, and it's just not really great for either of the tasks. But also time blocking is also important. If you haven't tried it, it's really, really beneficial. I use Google Calendar. I also use a planner. So basically for my time block, I block every single minute of my day. If I take a break in between, I will basically block the break because I feel like it's always nice if you give yourself a time frame. Like for example, if you're gonna take a nap for 1 hour, block that 1 hour and give yourself an alarm. There's so many times that people told me that they were gonna take 1 hour nap and they ended up sleeping for 4 hours and they didn't finish their work, and then I had to stay up late, and the next day they became more tired. It's not a nice cycle. So definitely like stay within your time frame. I have to block a little bit more time of the time you initially thought. So for example, if you think you're gonna take 40-minute nap, block 1 hour because it takes some time for you to fall asleep. It takes you some time to wake up and clear your mind, wash your face a little, and then go back to work in the afternoon. So definitely try this out and let me know how it goes. Tip number 7, try to use productivity tools such as planners, such as to-do list, sticky notes, such as Google Keep. That's a nice feature for Google. Also try to use sticky notes on Windows or Apple Notes on phone. Let me know if you want me to do a dedicated video about productivity apps for phones and computers. Initially, I wanted to do something like that because, there was a time I was kind of obsessed over these. But at the end of the day, I do believe in digital minimalism. I don't think by using 10 different apps can help me achieve productivity. It's always nice to actually limit to 2 to 4. That's just my honest opinion. I'm not a minimalist in general. I love to hoard a lot of things, but it comes to my digital space, I do think it's nice to stick to a certain number of apps that we use so that we don't confuse myself and overwhelm myself. It definitely happened to me that I forgot to check a reminder app that reminds me about a meeting, which is kind of ridiculous. So So just try to figure out what's your habit and try to stick with it, and it will become a habit so you will never miss any reminder. And also when it comes to planning, when it comes to productivity apps, I have another tip to share is that because I have so many things going on with my life, I have my personal things, personal matters, I have my research work, I have my full-time job, I have my YouTube and stream, so many things going on. I don't want one aspect of life to interfere the other aspects of life. So how I work around it is that I have 2 different planners. One is about work, everything I write down is about work, and the other one is about lifestyle, like to remind me of things that I wanted to do personally. But recently, because we've been quarantined at home, I haven't been using the lifestyle planner because I'm not going anywhere. I don't need to remind me of going anywhere. I just basically stuck at home. And also when it comes to work, I have different work. I have my YouTube, I have my stream, I have my full-time job, I also have my research work, I also try to publish my dissertations and work on other publications. So I actually differentiate my personal work with my work. When it comes to work, I use the work Google Keep, and when it comes to research work, I use the sticky notes, and when it comes to YouTube stream ideas, I usually just use my Apple iPhone because I use my personal computer, which is a Mac Airbook, and also my iPhone. So I definitely set boundaries in between my work, and I set boundaries during the planning stage. So when I'm focusing on work, I don't think about the research work. When I do the research work, I don't think about my YouTube. When I think about YouTube, I don't think about, oh, there's a report I need to do. So like we can actually separate different aspects of life. So that's how I'm not going crazy, even though I have so many things going on at the same time. Tip number 8. I love teamwork. I love collaborations. I know I'm an introvert, but I always felt like if I'm working alone, I felt less motivated, and I also felt like with teamwork, we can learn from each other, we can check each other's work. I just love to work as a team. But when it comes to teamwork, also be careful with productivity of the team. Definitely sometimes we could go off topic. Always try to cherish your time and also cherish other teammates' time when it comes to working and studying together. So when you study with your friends or when you work as a team, definitely set some time to work individually as a team and then discuss the teamwork. And we can laugh a little bit, we can make jokes. We can go off topic for like 1 minute, no big deal, because that's relationship building. You build a team stronger when you feel personally connected to each other. But try to respect each other's time. Try to block some time that when everybody just work individually as a team and then putting them together like a puzzle. So try to use the teamwork time efficiently and try to make sure that we are not just together and talk, and try to generate actions and try to think about efficiency. Also respect each other's time. Tip number 9 is to do things immediately of fresh mind. Just do things immediately, act on things. I think on the internet there are things called 2-minute rule, 3-minute rule, 5-minute rule, 30-minute rule, 2-hour rule. Okay, so here's the thing. I always have this habit of doing things immediately because I felt like if I don't act on it immediately, I may forget about it and later I'll get into trouble. And also, I just don't like to carry things on my back when I don't finish them. I just want to bam, finish them so they're not burdening me, they're not stressing me out. So I think whether it's 2-minute rule or 5-minute rule or 30-minute rule, it's really depending on the individual. So a lot of times after I meet with my boss or my advisor and things like that, immediately go to my cubicle and finish something. So sometimes it may take 5 minutes to do, sometimes it may take 2 hours to do. But if I know I'm free, if I didn't block anything during the next 2 hours, I usually just prioritize finish it up. Because I want to do things with a fresh mind. I don't want to spend extra extra energy recalling what was talked about in the meeting, because I know I took notes, but still, like, you need to recall what was told based on your notes. So you could forget about things. I definitely forgot about things. So definitely when there's so many things going on, it's harder to remember things, and it's very easy to mix things up. So I always like to do things immediately, act on things immediately, so that I don't forget about them, so I don't stress about them, so that I can just check things off. But it also depends on the task itself. It also depends on the schedule that day, but I try to do things as closely as when it was assigned. I do things based on deadlines sometimes, but most of the times I act on things quickly so that I can do things fast when it's fresh on my mind. Tip number 10. Tip number 10, it's kind of contradicting to the ninth one, because there are also things I don't want to act quickly. I don't want to act immediately, especially when it comes to how to respond to difficult emails, how to resolve work conflicts, conflicts with a coworker, things that you don't understand, things you don't know. It's always good to consult with someone or do a research about something before you act on things, just in case you did it wrong or you made it worse, and it's not gonna help you with productivity. It may bring you more frustration. It will be just counterproductive, even though you acted on things. So if, let's say, there's something you're assigned to but you're not very sure, it's always better to consult someone, to call someone, to ask questions, to ask clarifications before you actually act on it. It's always good to talk to different people, to gather different people's opinions. So when you're not very sure about what you're doing, either with relationship, either with work, or like there's something you truly don't know, it's always good to do some research about it, to ask people about it, to clarify it before you act on things. I used to be a person who act on things immediately, and later sometimes I made it worse. My response made it worse. I responded incorrectly, or I didn't understand it and my answer was wrong, and then later I have to redo it, and then I have to solve the even bigger question, even bigger issue. It's just not very worth it. Definitely use your judgments. What are the things you want to take an action immediately and get it done, versus things that you may actually take a step back to think about it, to ask other people's opinion, because it may not be a good idea to do it immediately if you're gonna do it wrong. So those are the 10 tips. But I also have a bonus tip. Actually, a bonus tip is kind of interesting because I felt like not a lot of people talk about it on the internet, because like everybody was talking about productivity, how early they wake up. People are like waking up at 6 a.m. and then it became 5:30 a.m. and then it became 5 a.m. and then people start to wake up at 4 a.m. Waking up 4 a.m. just to achieve productivity. There are definitely times that I woke up at 5:30 a.m. so that I can have more time in the morning to finish some tasks, to do workouts, to have more time to myself. I'm not saying waking up early is a bad thing, but if you want to wake up early, you have to go to bed early. Here's the thing. Sleep is more important than you think. It's better you sleep for 10 hours and work for 8 hours, but 8 hours of very focused work, versus if you sleep for 4 hours and then you're tired and then you just couldn't stay focused and you just dread about your work and didn't finish it. So I definitely love to wake up early, just because I felt like in summer it's nice to go for a run, and after the run I felt more energetic. I can do more work. To me, it's better if you work less hours but be more productive in those less hours and get more things done, compared to if you work longer hours and have no sleep, and then the next day you're tired and you can't finish because you can't stay focused, and you work for even longer hours. It's not a good cycle. But I also recognize that there are certain jobs that you just have to be there. You just have to work long hours. I have an 8 to 5 job, but I also have other jobs. To me, it's better if I have enough rest. I feel rested and focused. I can get things done faster compared to if I just dread and dread and dread. So if you're gonna wake up early at 4 a.m., a lot of respect from me, but please go to bed and before 9 p.m. because don't go to bed at 12 and then wake up at 4. It's just not gonna be helpful to you long term. So once in a while, not gonna be a problem, but sleep is so important. I felt like every time when I have enough sleep, I can get more things done. My brain is clear versus if I only work on 4 hours sleep. I definitely have a brain fog. No matter how much coffee I drink, the brain fog is always gonna be there, and it's just not gonna be beneficial to my productivity long term. Alrighty, that's it for today's video. I hope these tips and experience can be helpful to you. Again, I don't want to promote toxic productivity, like if productivity is everything to me, like everything sacrificed to productivity. I definitely felt like mental health and physical health is very important. I learned my lesson the hard way. There was a time I studied and worked too hard, and then I became very unhealthy. I had a lot of underlying health conditions. I still have a lot of underlying health conditions because of that. So the general rule of thumb is to increase our efficiency instead of overwork ourselves for longer hours. Alright, that's it for today. I hope this video is helpful. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up, and also comment down below what is your tip for increasing productivity and efficiency, and also what are your tips to take care of yourself, to reset so that you can be productive, more productive the next day. Alright, before you go, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the notification bell. Make sure you ring the bell. It means a lot to me and my channel, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!